What's going on, guys? Brendan here. Welcome to my 100% walkthrough for Demon Souls. As mentioned, this will be a 100% walkthrough. This series will cover everything from build recommendations to tactics and strategies for all of your bosses. We'll be taking you through all of the NPC quests and, of course, getting you guys all of your trophies. For anyone that may be wondering, we're going to cover the walkthrough for the remake on PlayStation 5. Now, before we get started, there are going to be a few things to address. When it comes to your platinum, this is going to take you guys 3 playthroughs, so I do want to make sure we are upfront about that. Now, while we will be able to get almost everything done, you will not be able to pick up every spell in a single playthrough, as this is tied to boss souls, and there's going to be a choice to make a lot of the times. So towards the end of the series, I am going to let you guys know what you're missing and how to obtain it, so you guys can get your platinum on your own. Now, aside from that, with this being a walkthrough and us having limited time per episode, we are going to be skipping through cutscenes and we are going to be skipping through dialogue. Now, I find the world, the story, and especially the characters to be very interesting, so I don't want you guys to feel like you have to skip through everything just because I am. So you guys should take in the game in your own time. So without anything else, guys, we are ready to hop on in. So we're going to go ahead and go over some starting classes, and I will make recommendations. So the first choice you have is between male and female. Now, typically, this wouldn't really mean much in any other Souls game. However, there is equipment and there's armor and there's items that are tied specifically to being a female or male character. So if you guys want, you can look at the subreddit page for a list of items, or you could go through Google. I'm sure, it's all going to be there for you guys to find, as there is going to be no respecting your character. So whatever you got, you are going to be stuck with. So, do keep that in mind. You want to put a little bit of, thought into this, if you will. So starting off, we're going to put in our name, then we'll start going over a few things here. All right, just something for me to separate my characters, my many characters. Either way, guys, before we get into the classes over here at Start and Gift, the obvious choice will always be the Providential Ring. In Demon Souls, your heals do not refill when you rest. In fact, you have to get consumable healing items unless you're going to be using spells, so there's no fast period. So you're going to have to farm up a lot of healing items. You're going to have to farm up a lot of souls to pay for upgrades, to pay for weapon durability, and to pay for items you guys want. On top of just farming up like I said, healing and upgrade mats. So the Providential Ring will boost item discovery. It's a no-brainer. Everything else is honestly, for the most part, just going to be consumables that you will find out in the world on your journey. And you will find the Providential Ring too. However, this doesn't come for a while, and boosting item discovery towards the start when we're trying to farm up a bunch of heals, it's going to be a huge boon to our playthrough. Now, getting into your classes, you will have 10 starting classes. As mentioned, the most important thing to note here is that you cannot respec your character, similar to Bloodborne. Whatever you got, you're stuck with. It's not just male or female, you're talking about whatever stats you have. Now, starting classes in any Souls game, you should pay more attention to your starting equipment than your levels. However, with that being said, I wouldn't go, let's say you want to do a strength build, don't start with a magician because you like the shield or sword, because that starts with 15 magic and 9 strength. So since you cannot respec, yes, pay attention to the starting gear more than anything else, but don't pick something that's going to be the opposite of what you want your build to be. A lot of this equipment we're going to find anyways. It's just nice to have it at the start. So we're going to give a few honorable mentions. Now, whenever I do a walkthrough, I always try to do some testing and figure out which build I think would be best for players that are new coming over to Demon Souls, or whatever that game may be. So we will be recommending a build and putting the best build together we possibly can. With that in mind, I want you guys to know you do have complete freedom. I'm going to cover every build. I'm going to cover every class to get you guys the best weapons. We're going to talk about the best gear, so you guys do have 100%, complete freedom. However, I would be remiss if we didn't make a recommendation. So with that being said, Soldier and Knight are going to be your best classes if you don't really know what you want to do, as the stats are pretty even. Now, I really like the Soldier because you come in at 14 health, which is way more than any other class. 12 endurance is not bad. A lot of times it's under 10. You still got 12 strength, 11 dex, 10 faith, 8 magic, 10 luck. So this is just a clean slate, in my honest opinion. If you wanted to go faith, it'd be perfect because you still need enough strength and dex for weapon requirements. If you want to go magic, not bad either. You're still going to need, health, endurance, strength, and dex for weapon requirements and survivability. So Knight's the same way. These are different variations of the same build, in my opinion. goes good with strength. It goes good with everything. That's kind of the point, right? Strength, quality, dex. These are really solid choices if you don't know what you want to do yet. Then there will be some strength classes, so there's going to be some dex classes. The only other ones that really stand out to me are going to be royalty for casters. And yes, you have the magician, which does have more level of magic. And it does have a better projectile spell with the fireball compared to soul arrow. However, the equipment down here, you have a ring that's going to give you consistent mana regeneration. So it's always regenerating your mana, letting you cast as much as possible. And you also get a corset, a headband, which is going to give you a little bit more mana too. So as far as gear, this is the best choice, although this might have fairly better stats, which will be replaced anyways. And it definitely has better spells, which we can get later on. So the choice is, completely up to you. Then with that, we also have the Temple Knight. Temple Knight, I firmly believe, is probably the strongest class because you're coming with 11 health, 13 endurance, 14 strength, 12 dex, and still they give you 13 in faith. Now, magic's going to take a big hit here. Luck's going to take a big hit. However, if you are trying to do a faith build, I think this is better than the priest, because you're still getting higher base stats and just a solid loadout. So we will be going for a faith build with the walkthrough. Now, with that being said, we're going to be keeping our physical stats. We got to put a few levels there for those weapon requirements, but most of our scaling will be coming from faith weapons. Obviously, we're going to have access to spells that will boost that survivability. Now, once again, you guys have complete freedom to do whatever the hell you want to do, but that would be my recommendation because, when we do a walkthrough, I'm after builds with high damage for newer players, right? But we also want high survivability, and this is important that we get both. So you're going to get the option here. Would you like to play the journey to the Nexus? And yes, we do. Now, essentially, this is just in the tutorial area, right? But there are some good items here if you can get past the tutorial boss, which we will show you guys how to do, although you only get one chance at this. And we can pick up quite a bit of healing. Now, almost every class besides the soldier, I do believe, is going to be fat rolling, so you got to make a choice. You can go with your armor or you can go with your pants. I don't want to run around with no pants on. It's just kind of strange. So you are going to have to get this off where you're fat rolling, and that's going to just get you, it's going to get you caught at the end of the day. So going on up, got Mr. Cannon Fodder here. He's virtually nothing. Now, just to give a brief rundown on things, obviously, you guys should spend the time with the tutorial area. The guide is going to cover strategies for bosses, all the items, all the quests, all of the trophies, show you some really cool secrets, and a lot of really dope stuff along the way. However, learning the combat is on you guys, right? We'll kind of give you pointers here and there, but the main gist is light attack R1, heavy attack on R2. Unfortunately, there are no charged heavy attacks in Demon Souls. However, I think, we got plenty going on here to get us through. And then your spells are going to be up on the D-pad to cycle through. Down on the D-pad will be your consumables. You're going to use those with square. Then left on D-pad to switch left-hand weapons. Right on the D-pad to switch right-hand weapons. You do not have a jump. Roll and dodge are going to be in circle. Your interaction will be on X. And that's the main gist of it, guys. Right now, we're really just working our way on through your tutorial. Like I said, it's not a big area. It does give us a few items that we can use at the start. Now these guys, if you can't interrupt their first hit, they'll like spaz out on you. Let's see if we can trigger some of it. Not so much that. It's usually after a jump attack. If they come at you with a jump attack, they'll swing their weapon like 10 times after, like wop, 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 wop. And even though they're not the most threatening enemy, that will put you down. So if you have a shield with the 100 physical damage negation, it will interrupt their attacks and shut down that whole combo. If not, just be cautious. You start trying to swing, you might get caught. And also, you could two-hand with triangle, which is good for those tight corridors and stairwells and stuff, because a lot of the times, your weapon's going to smack the wall, right? Then aside from that, this game has a added bonus to damage if you could hit the enemy clean with your weapon, like right in the center. The halberd, this is a bit tricky, but it is worth a mention because if you're playing with like straight sword, great sword, you have a high chance of doing this. And there's even gear that'll boost that even more. Now, I have not noticed this in any other Souls like, so I figure like I'd bring it up. And if you're using a weapon that you can pull it off, obviously the one benefits. Thank you. We have a few more gentlemen here. Now, if you do want to parry these guys, the parry is really late. You see how it looks like you almost hit me? You want to parry after he leaves for that jump attack. but that will shut down his whole combo, so it can be nice. Alright, there we go. One more. So one more time we'll show you. Oh, we weren't lined up. So no charged heavies, but we still do have backstab. I'll show that off. Now, every enemy has different parry times. Parrying is usually pretty tricky in Souls-likes, but I think with the remake here, Unreal Engine 5, everything's so smooth and crisp. I actually feel like they're a lot more friendly, and obviously they're very powerful, style of gameplay, so if you guys can adapt to some enemies at least, will make life easier, for sure. Alright, so now once we got all of our stuff, we'd head to the back portion of the outpost. So as soon as you go into the right, you have dude bro here. Make sure always look right here. I mean, I know nothing's there, but just to, be sure. Another foot soldier. I love the animation for assassination in this game. Really, really cool. And it's different for so many weapons. Now, Blue-Eyed Knight is I guess a low-level elite enemy. Like, he's definitely elite. You should very much take him serious. But when you're in castles, you might have the Red-Eyed Knights. They're pretty much like tuck your tail and run away until you get stronger. So this guy's pretty manageable. If he hits you once or twice, you can heal through it. Third time's probably going to kill you, Like I said, he's tough enough to take serious, but I wouldn't stress him too much. I like the two-hand for this guy because he likes to really go for a shield. He's got a bounce there. He's a shield, so you can't get past it. Two-handing helps break through the guard a lot better. Half Moon. So as far as your healing, like I said, you have to farm this up or just obtain enough of this. Try to roll through his bullshit. So your Crescent Moon Grass early game, that's our bread and butter. We want to try not to use any of the other ones because your health bars are so small. They're kind of rare and you're just wasting them. So those should be saved for later in the game. Now with that, your Half Moon Grass, this is the only other one you use, and I'd use it in case of emergencies, right? If you absolutely have to, you're out of these, obviously go for that. Now with the build we're doing, we also have the heal. So for out of health, we could use our heal as long as you switch to your catalyst, and that'll heal a big portion of your health. So for out of healing, it's pretty much just a safety net for us. So it's another real reason for what we're doing. The Faith isn't strong offensively in Demon Souls as it was, in like Dark Souls and especially Elden Ring. It's more about protection. However, there is some really, really good benefits as far as getting damage out, because if we infuse a weapon for Faith, we'll get straight up Faith scaling as long as we reach the requirements, but it adds magic damage because there was not holy yet. We'll actually get a magic damage boost to our weapon. So if you were to look at your weapon, you'll see physical, magical, or fire, right? So fire is actually kind of weak this time around, but any weapon that scales with magic is going to be very, very powerful. Everybody's weak to it, so we will get that from Faith, but also if the weapon is infused for Faith, we will get regeneration healing. Like, constantly we're getting healed. So that's what I said, high damage, high survivability, best build I can think of for, first time playing. If you guys like magic, you like quality, there's no wrong choice, especially in Demon Souls. There's no wrong choice. But just from the healing and, the high damage, it's a no-brainer. I say that like I didn't spend 5 hours testing shit to be sure. we about went magic. And then we also almost went like strength or more towards quality of weapon buffs. There's just so many good things, But yeah, no wrong choice, guys. Just a lot of options. Now, moving into this boss fight, this is going to be the Vanguard Demon. If you do not get past him here, you will not get another opportunity. There's other Vanguard demons. However, beating this guy here gets us access to an area like I said, we can't reach otherwise. So this guy hits you once you're dead, and it's tricky. He's really, 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 really big. He has a very big one-handed great axe. Now, he only swings once here, once there, but it comes out faster than you might think for his size, and he can be very dangerous. So this is a game of patience. It's a game of caution. What we want to do is run, get behind him, a couple hits, back off, a couple hits, back off. Every time he moves to the right, we're moving to the right to stay behind him. Moves to the left, same thing there. Now you can kind of fly up into the air and do like the super mega butt stomp. However, we just walk back a couple steps and we're good. So you see how we rushed in? I didn't lock on either, guys. I rushed in, not locked on until I got behind him. That will help out a lot. Because if you're locked on, it might just keep you in front of him. You don't want that. Also, with this being the first episode, I know it sounds loud right now, so I don't know how our sound and mic quality is until this first episode comes out. So you guys let me know if we need to make any adjustments. Every game's different. Like I said, a couple heads back up. Look, we almost got them halfway already. You know, a little bit of patience, but really not that bad. Just keep circling around. Not good. Not good. Yeah, the walks kind of fucks with you a little bit. Just, do your best with it. And do not, no matter what, do not get greedy. Ever. Now, if you can't get past this guy, like I said, it's really not a big deal. We get a few items that's going to help out. And so 100% I want to get everything done, but it's not going to ruin your playthrough. It's not going to make you miss some god tier weapons. Or we're going to get a cool helm. We're going to get a few upgrade mats for every weapon type to get all your starter weapons up to +1, which could help. Honestly, I'm not even going to use them anyways, but we'll just save them. But yeah, I mean, it just gets you a few things that'll help you out along the way. Now, when you kill bosses in Demon Souls, you have to interact with the bonfire, the Archstone, and then that will get you their soul. So always make sure to do that. Now, first things first, the Iron Helm is going to be right over here on your right before you go up the stairs. Don't miss that. Probably the coolest item here. A helm. And that's what I'm saying. But there's a few souls to pick up. There is 3 Hardstone shards, 3 Sharpstone shards, and some healing. Like Full Moon Grass, that's one we will not use for a long time. We're going to put that in storage. That way we have it for later. It's pretty rare and it's like a super heal. Our health's just not big enough for that yet. Alright. 3 Hardstone. Nexus, 3 Sharpstone. Then 3 soul items. There's 1. There's 2. And you have 3. Now, once you do that, this guy's just going to kill you scripted. You're going to cut, see, we're going to smack the shit out your ass. And then that will take you on over to the Nexus. Like I said, for me, the background sounds so high. So, like I said, if we need to adjust the volume or, the microphone, let us know. Every game's different. So, the first episode, I'm not going to know until, this comes out. So, if, I guess you could say the FSX for the game is too high, y'all just let me know. We'll adjust it. It's always an issue the first part of every series we do until, we see what's going on. So as soon as you get to the Nexus, we're going to go and go through this guy's dialogue. Well, he's essentially just telling you what your mission is and what you, what you need to do. Now, for those of you that don't know, this is your central hub area. This is your Round Table Hold, your Firelink Shrine, right? So this is where all of your NPCs will end up as you do quest lines, if you find them. Your blacksmith, your simple blacksmith will be here. Our boss blacksmith, that will be later on. You'll be able to level up from here. Not yet, but it's coming. And then you have storage here. So there's quite a bit going on, even right now. Like, there's not much, but there's still a few things to discuss. So if you were to look straight at the, the front here, the big statue, over here on the right, behind the stairs, this is where you would go for all of your magic merchants. So if you're trying to attune magic spells, meaning slot them in, or you're trying to buy them, you turn in boss souls for really powerful spells with the NPCs on this side. The other side's faith users, right? So if you're doing faith build like us, our NPCs will be over here. Now, obviously, we'll still be covering all the quests with each, but it is important to note, right? So you guys know where to find these individuals as we send them here. Now, aside from that, right at the bottom of the stairs, you're going to have a few guys. And you can talk to her now. Exhaust her dialogue. Yeah. Just exhaust the dialogue as we go. That way we don't auto-progress anything. Now, the only 2 people of actual note right here are this gentleman for your storage. That's Thomas. And then you have your blacksmith. So we always have to be prepared to deal with our equipment burden, so we're not fat rolling. However, you also need to worry about that for your inventory in Demon Souls. So we're constantly, every time we do an area, we come back to Thomas and we need to situate our stuff, put everything we can in storage we're not using. you know, because this will prevent you from picking up items in the world. You can still automatically send items to storage, but you will not be able to use them until you come all the way back here. So this is important. We do not want to be over encumbered. So with
Our
that, going on
stockpiling
up,
is
talk to
scarce in my
Thomas.
life, but I would be
Stockpile
reckless.
Thomas.
I would be happy to lighten your load.
Now, if you have something equipped, you will not be able to actually send that over here. Now, the Gray Demon Soul we picked up, that will get you that really dope axe he was using. It's a Colossal Great Axe. This is probably better for New Game Plus. The stamina and strength requirements are so high. And not to mention, I mean, it does really good damage, but it's super slow. Like I said, probably more of a New Game Plus thing if you guys want the souls, pop it. But since we cannot level up until after our first story boss, you guys get killed, you might lose the souls. I would just throw it in storage for now. Your big healing over here, full moon, throw it in storage for now. Nexo binding, you cannot actually put this in storage. There's a few quest items you just can't put in storage. So this is, it's a quest item. You'll never even pay attention to it. So the bearer of the seal is bound to the nexus, never to be free, even in death. I think it's just more related to the story. Um, you know, because this is Nexo binding. It's binding our character, if you will, but it doesn't really have a use or a purpose. Now, interestingly enough, when it comes to upgrade materials, you don't have to have these on your person to actually get your upgrades. It will always be pulled from storage. There's absolutely no need to ever have those in your inventory. Augite Souls gives you a little bit of light. You cannot put this in storage. Like I said, it's a quest item. Now, armor sets. By the time we even have the stamina to pull off an armor set, we'll have other armor sets to choose from. I'd put it all up. It's heavy shit. Souls, we're not worried about. We're going to pop a bunch next episode anyways, so we'll just kind of keep those on us. Now, the blacksmith over here, this is a basic blacksmith. If you're just trying to upgrade physical weapons, this is your guy. If you're trying to get magic scaling, you're trying to get faith scaling, infusions, or make boss weapons, this is going to be another blacksmith we're going to get here in a few episodes. So actually it'll be a little bit. So this is going to be the only blacksmith you have access to for a little while. It's not that long, but you know, it's more than an episode or two away, to say the least. So you do have to worry about your durability. It's not like Dark Souls 3 where you rest, all of your durability comes back. No. Every time you do an area, like I said, we have some maintenance to do. We're going to go over storage, we're going to come over here, reset our durability so our weapon's not going to break and become unusable. And then aside from that, obviously you can pay for your first upgrade here. I'm not gonna. Like I said, it can get you one upgrade, give you a little bit more damage if you feel like you need it for your first area. However, I'd rather save those upgrades so when we do our early weapon run, that we all can get something we like and, you know, put upgrades into that instead. I do have a farm for hardstone and sharpstone shards, so it, you know, it really doesn't matter. It's up to you guys. But you know, if you use all your stuff and you have to farm, that can get annoying after, you know, farming for an hour. So just, you know, something to try to remember. Now, if you picked a character off of stats and you didn't really have gear you like, there's 3 start weapons here: battle axe, one-handed axe for strength, short sword probably more towards dex, daggers more towards dex. So if you guys want to use one of these, you can. However, like I said, as soon as we go through our first area next episode and take out that boss, we're going to have access to all the other worlds, and we're going to do an early run around to get better weapons for every single class. So the choices here, you guys have souls to pop. If you want it, get it. Fresh Spice is going to refill your mana for casters. You buy infinite amounts from them. And then Crescent Moongrass for healing, you can buy infinite amounts. Edge Sharpening Stone is awesome. We do not have to come back here to actually restore our durability. We can do it on the go in the form of a consumable. Only takes a second. So I really do like it, but they're super fucking expensive, as you see. Now with that, guys, we are pretty much caught up. The only other thing to really dress on is going to be the worlds, arcstones, and then world tendency. This is where things get a bit tricky. So for one, all these represent a world. Now each world has multiple parts. Like you have 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, 2-1, 2-2, 2, you know, so on and so forth. But you're gonna see 6 arcstones. Only 5 are working. So the lore kind of ties into this, but everyone was expecting a DLC way back in the day. Never happened. That's that 6 one you see at the top right. However, everything else are worlds we can go to after our first boss. Now, aside from that, you know, we're not going to have access to this after a boss. We're not going to have access to, upgrading our characters after your first boss. However, this is, you know, stuff to come. And aside from that, if you go on over right past status to tendency, this is where things get a bit confusing. With Demon Souls, this is going to be very different from any other Souls game you've played. The world and character mechanics are vastly different. Now, it's probably harder to explain than it is to actually understand, and the more time you spend with the game, you will understand. It's really not that bad, but for me, it's always kind of hard to break down. So the main gist of it is you're going to have certain items and areas that will only open up to you, and certain quests will only open up to you if you have certain tendencies. So there's going to be pure white world tendency. This is gained by killing bosses without dying in human form. You have soul form and human form, right? So as long as you're not in your human form, you go through, kill bosses, you'll shift the world to what's known as pure white. Once you do that, you're going to have certain events that open up to you. So we'll have to knock those out. Now to get to pure black world tendency, which will give you invasion events, which lead to weapons and other quests, all you'll have to do is the opposite. You'll have to die in human form. So this walkthrough is very, very tricky. It's requires us to be very specific and have intent with everything we do, and we can't really make mistakes here. It's not easy, it's not hard, but if you don't know any better and you're just kind of going crazy, you could easily mess stuff up, you know what I mean? And it's not a big deal. You got 3 playthroughs. However, if we play our cards right, we can do about 98% of everything in a single run. So we want to be careful how we do things. And then just to state, if let's say you're in pure white, you happen to not realize you're in human form, you get yourself killed, you can get back to pure white world tendency by taking out other bosses. And I do believe you can be summoned to another player's world, and you could help them defeat bosses to, well, that's character. Yeah, I think you'd have to just do PvP and kill invaders, is how that works for world tendency, at least. So I will check my notes, and we'll go over this later. So I wasn't going to bring this up to after our first world boss, but the main gist of it is, like I said, kill your bosses in soul form, get to pure white. If you do mess that up, you would have to kill invaders. So you'd have to go to PvP, because when you kill invaders, that also brings your world tendency to white. So it'd have to be in that location. Pure black, very simple. We die in human form, we get to those activities. Now, dying in human form is a lot easier. We just need certain items to let us gain humanity, then we get ourselves killed. So pure black's the easy part. Pure white's where it gets tricky. Now on top of that, you have character tendency. So the character tendency events probably won't do to the end game. We need to do all of our areas. The main gist of this is the same thing. If you were to just go through the game, killing the bosses, doing the right thing, you'll get your character tendency to pure white. However, let's say you accidentally kill a named NPC, aggro a named NPC, this was going to start pushing you to pure black. So to fix this is where you would go to another player's world, help them with boss fights. This is where you kill invaders, and then you can bring that back up. So don't smack NPCs, do the right thing. Character's a lot more simple. So hopefully I did, do that justice. Like I said, it's easier to understand than it is to actually explain. And the fact of the matter is once we start doing our first world tendency events, you guys are going to understand. It's really, it's not that bad. So once we take out our first few bosses in, World 1, 1, 1, 2, we'll actually be able to get into a few of these events, and that will help better to explain it. Without anything else, guys, we are going to go and wrap on up. Looking at our time, we're already 30 minutes in. We're not going to have the time to do this whole area, so I'd like to put it on one episode. So I will say, before we pick up next episode, go through, make sure you have maintained your storage, get your upgrades if you wanted, pick up any other weapons if you wanted. And if you're doing like a mage build, I would highly recommend, well, you need 11 strength, but he has the same shield we have right here, the heater shield, and it does have that physical damage negation at 100. So this means that if you're blocking enemy attacks, a lot of times it will stagger them back, and it will shut down their combos, which is going to make life a lot fucking easier. Trust me, it's worth it. So without it, you are just going to have to be more careful. You'll be able to block attacks, but you're not going to be able to interrupt their attacks, so it's going to require a little bit more dodging, distance, and just being cautious. But that would be my recommendation of something that's going to help you vastly. But either way, guys, with that, we are going to go ahead and wrap on up. Next episode, we'll be going on over to the gates of Boletaria, knocking out 1-1, getting you guys access to your Firekeeper so you can level up, then also getting us access to all the other worlds so we can do a early weapon run, get you guys some pretty cool items as far as weapons and gear to really just get us set up for the journey the best possible way. So y'all stay tuned. We'll catch you back here shortly.